we now call it. Very well, we may begin.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, I wish to introduce to you a delegation from the National Assembly of the Republic of Mozambique. The delegation, seated at the Speaker's row, comprises of members of the Commission of Public Administration and Local Government of the Assembly. They are the Honourable Lucas Chomera Jeremias, MP President. The Honourable Antonio Pedro Muchanga, MP Rabotua. The Honourable Martina Januario Benfica, MP Member. The Honourable Goncalves Masinda, MP Member. The Honourable Elisa Silvestre Isabel Cipriano, MP Member. The Honourable Manuel Josie de Souza, MP Member. The Honourable Alberto Jumlate, MP Member. The delegation is also accompanied by Mr. Emidio Constantino Guambe, Chief of Staff of the Commission, Mr. Dacio Alvazema and Ms. Rolena Mazive from the Institute of Multiparty Democracy, and Mr. Amenio Machiana, a translator. Honourable members, the delegation is in the country to engage, and the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security, as well as the Senate Committee on Devolved Government, among other agencies. On my own behalf and that of the House, I wish to welcome them to the National Assembly and wish them fruitful engagements during their stay in the country. I thank you.
Order number 3, messages.
Member for Lunga Lunga, why don't you just, first of all, you have been missing in action. Yeah. Take your seat now. Honourable members, this is message number 9 of 2018 from the Senate. It reads the passage of the County Boundaries Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2017, and the Office of the County Attorney Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2018. Honourable members, Standing Order number 41, subsection 4, requires the Speaker to report to the House any message or messages received from the Senate at the first convenient opportunity. In this regard, I wish to report to the House that on Thursday 6 to provide a mechanism for the resolution of county boundaries, to give effect to Article 188 of the Constitution by providing for the procedure for alteration of county boundaries, and to provide for the establishment of an independent county boundaries commission. Honourable members, the second message is conveying the passage of the County Attorney Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2018. Yes, 2018. The bill seeks to, and I quote, provide for the functions and powers of the county attorney and the discharge of duties and the exercise of powers of the county attorney, close the quotes. Honourable members, Standing Order number 143, subsection 1 requires the Speaker to cause a bill received from the Senate to be read a first time upon conveyance of a message from the Senate referring bills to the National Assembly. Accordingly, I direct that the two bills be read a first time at the next sitting of the House. Honourable members, paragraph 2 of Standing Order number 143 of our standing orders provides as follows, and I read: following first reading, the Speaker shall, within reasonable time, pronounce his or her opinion contemplated under Article 114, Clause 2 of the Constitution, close the quotes. The opinion envisioned under Standing Order number 143, subsection 2, is a pronouncement by the Speaker as to whether a bill originating in the Senate is a money bill in terms of Article 114 of the Constitution. In this regard, I have requested the Clerk of the National Assembly to refer the two bills to the Parliamentary Budget Office to over advice that will enable the Speaker to form an opinion contemplated in the aforementioned Standing Order 143-2. Thereafter, I shall guide the House accordingly on how to proceed with the consideration of the said two bills from the Senate. I thank you, no members.
Order number 4, petitions.
Honourable members, this petition number 119 of 2018, it is read to conference regarding enactment of legislation for implementation of African Union resolutions. Honourable members, Standing Order number 225, subsection 2, paragraph B of the standing orders requires the Speaker to report to the House any petition and those presented through a member. I therefore wish to convey to the House that my office has received a petition signed by one David Gesicho, a Kenyan citizen, regarding enactment of legislation to provide for implementation of the resolutions of the African Union. Honourable members, the petitioner contends that over the years, there has been emphasis by successful regimes in power in the Republic of Kenya on economic development at the expense of human development, and exemplified in recent times by the inordinately high allocation of resources to the health and agriculture sectors that have a direct bearing on human development. The petitioner therefore prays that the National Assembly initiates the process of enacting legislation with regard to implementation of resolutions of the African Union in the Republic of Kenya, and in particular, concerning the proposed formula for division and allocation of revenues towards the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals. The proposed allocations are as follows: 1, 15% to the health sector; 2, 21% to agriculture, including water, sanitation, and irrigation; 3, 20% to the education sector; 4, 10% to the shelter/housing sector; and 5, 10% to the security sector. Honourable members, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 227, this petition therefore stands committed to the Departmental Committee on Defence and Foreign Relations for consideration. I wish to inform the House that the petition was submitted in the 11th Parliament, but the committee had not concluded its consideration by the time the House adjourned sine die. The committee is therefore requested to consider this petition and report its findings to the House and the petitioner in accordance with Standing Order number 227, subsection 2. Thank you, members. Honourable members, there is a petition by the member for Embakasi East. Member for Embakasi East, you must use your card. Is it East or West? West, eh? Very well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Public petition regarding regularization of various government offices for efficient service delivery in Embakasi West constituency. I, the undersigned, on behalf of residents of Embakasi West constituency, draw the attention of the House to the following. That Embakasi West constituency is made up of 4 wards, namely Molem, Kariobangi South, Uhuru, Umoja 1, and Umoja 2. Embakasi West has hived off the main Embakasi West constituency, in which it covered a massive area of 208 kilometers squared, and split into Embakasi South, Embakasi North, and Embakasi West constituency, and Embakasi Central. That offices of the Ministry of Education and that of Interior and Coordination of National Government still use pre-2010 constitution boundaries to manage and coordinate the affairs in Embakasi West constituency. That sections of Embakasi West constituency fall under the jurisdiction of different sub-counties, namely Kariobangi South Uhuru Ward, which has sections of Uhuru and Akamkunji sub-county, and Kariobangi South Molem Ward falls under Njiru sub-county. That conflicts of jurisdiction and poor coordination of various offices in Embakasi West constituency have negatively impacted on delivery of key services to the residents of Embakasi West constituency. For instance, education and cash transfers for orphans and vulnerable children, persons with severe disabilities, older person cash transfers are administered and provided from Njiru, Kasarani, and Kamkunji sub-counties, while coordination of regular and administration are manned from Embakasi, Kamkunji, and Kasarani constituencies, respectively. This state of affairs has denied provision of these key services to thousands of residents of Embakasi West constituency. That efforts to resolve this matter with the relevant government bodies have been futile. Issues in respect of this petition is made are not pending before any court of law or constitutional or statutory body. Therefore, your humble petitioners pray that the National Assembly, through the Department Committee of Administration and National Security, 1, causes the government to regularize various offices for effective service delivery in Embakasi West constituency. 2, recommend proper administration and coordination of service delivery in line with the constitution or sub-county units rather than the old administrative structures, and make any other order or direction that is deemed fit in the circumstance of this petition. Thank you.
Well, I see some few members who want to comment on, I don't know which petition. Member of Ogunja.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the petition that has been presented by the member for Embakasi West is there are sections of certain constituencies which fall in different sub-counties. A case in point is my own constituency. I've got a whole sub-location which falls in a different jurisdiction. That is in Ugenya sub-county, whereas my constituency is Ugunja. Mr. Speaker, this is a matter that the committee should take up with a lot of seriousness and try to look at it holistically, rather than dwelling on Embakasi West. If you could find a mechanism of addressing this issue countrywide, so that I don't have this confusion, Mr. Speaker, because our people require services, and those services can only be assured if the boundaries are clear and there's no ambiguity whatsoever. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, before I allow other members to comment, allow me to recognize the presence in the public gallery of students and pupils from the following institutions: Karatina University, Madeira constituency, Nyeri County; Big Pen Academy, Ruaraka constituency, Nairobi County. They are all welcome to observe the proceedings in the National Assembly this afternoon. Member for Igembe Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to comment on the petition by Honorable Deuri. Mr. Speaker, this problem is across the country, and as my previous speaker, as the previous contributor said, when the new constitution came into force, some sub-counties were merged with others, and therefore administratively it became very difficult for some, it became a confusion, whereby people don't know where the jurisdiction or where to get services from. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, Egembe Central, it was chopped from Egembe South and Egembe North, and therefore the two bits were put together. And as we speak, Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, we don't have a police station, we don't have a OSPD, we get the services from North and South, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this petition is timely, and they need, when the committee sits down, let's look at this thing holistically. It's a recipe now to make him push further and look at the whole thing holistically across the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Makueni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to comment on this very important petition. Mr. Speaker, this problem is recurring, and in fact, I had an occasion to discuss it with the IBC, who I thought would be responsible in terms of the boundaries. And Mr. Speaker, it turned out we actually, as a House, need to make a law which addresses on this particular matter. That could come out when the committee investigates this matter, and I will also ask as many members as possible with a similar problem to approach the committee when it's being prosecuted, Mr. Speaker, so that we can come out with the data and we can know, Mr. Speaker, best way forward. But most probably, Mr. Speaker, we will have to propose a law to be able to settle this once and for all. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Maybe perhaps that's why one of the bills that has come from the Senate is dealing with the county boundaries. Unless you people are not listening carefully to my communication. Finally, let's hear the member for Kilifi North.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also would like to support this petition and say that this is a bigger problem, I think, in the country. Personally, my constituency, two wards belong to another constituency or another sub-county. And yet, this is the core of my constituency. Recently, I read in the papers that they have formed a new sub-county within my constituency that derives boundaries from my constituency and another constituency, where even the Member of Parliament is not involved in the process. Now, I read in the papers that Kauma sub-county has been created, and I say congratulations to that sub-tribe. But why would it be done without consultation? Because one of the fundamental pillars of the Constitution is public participation, where everybody else is involved and leaders are involved in such decisions, key decisions. But if we continue that way, you realize that even delivery of service, because Watamu and Abaso wards in my constituency belong to Malindi sub-county, where there is an MP. And if I need the services of the DCC, I have to go to another constituency to sit in that constituency to attend a meeting that has been called to discuss an issue that is in my constituency. The police boss of these two wards also sits in Malindi sub-county, making it very difficult for me now to have to sit in two constituencies, my constituency and Malindi constituency. Some of the development projects like roads and all that now start cutting across because now I have to consult with the other. I think this is a fundamental problem that needs to be sorted out. And if provincial administration is reviewing boundaries or the Ministry of Interior is doing these things, let them consult leaders so that we do not end up with situations that service delivery is interfered with at the grassroots. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
But, honour members, you know, the opportunity granted at this point is to make comments and seek clarifications. But when I hear every member rising in their place, lamenting, you see, the principle of public participation, quite apart from the requirements under Article 118, it's also one of the principles of one of the values under Article 10, public participation. Why is it that instead of all members lamenting, you do not seek the enforcement of that requirement through other mechanisms from those that are involved in making those decisions? Because now this petition relates to Embakasi West. It is unlikely that the departmental committee is going to start saying Kilifi North, Makueni, and I think Ugunja, Igembe Central, and I'm sure several other places. They are unlikely to address those issues in this one, except to make general observations that looking at the Hansard, there was general lamentation by several of the members that spoke, and that therefore maybe the people concerned should look into the matter. That perhaps is about all. But the point I'm making, Honorable Owen Barr, is we see people enforcing public participation on the legislature, such that the legislature in both houses, and indeed even at the county levels, they cannot fail to observe that aspect of that governance aspect of our constitution involving the public. If we don't, there are some busybodies who are always out there in the streets, and they will be in courts. How is it that those busybodies are not there to enforce this and the other organs of government to involve the public in making of these decisions? Because some of the decisions like these ones are very, very critical. Because even the public themselves end up getting confused as to, on one side they are told the Honorable Owen Barr is their member, the Honorable Wandai is their member, then they are dealing with some other funny people, administrators, I don't know, you are calling them assistant something. Is it assistant chiefs or those kind of fellows? So, the public get confused. So, but again, honorable members, it is within you to also seek to enforce some of these things. In the meantime, the petition stands committed to the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security to consider it in terms of Honorable Barr having spoken. Now there is no way you can speak again. And like I keep reminding you, this is not a high school where people have to. No, not in relation to this. It doesn't happen like that here, not in the Parliament. That happens in those other institutions. Yes. Let's go to the next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Leader majority.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, October 16, 2018. The Annual Public Debt Management Report for the financial year 2017-2018 from the National Treasury and Planning. The report 2, the report of the Auditor General and financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year that ended 30th June 2017 and the certificate therein. A. Kenyatta University. B. Agriculture Sector Development Support Program. C. Bukura Agricultural College. D. Kenya Dairy Board. E. Agriculture Information Resource Center Revolving Fund Account. F. Small Scale Irrigation and Value Addition Project. G. Kenya National Shipping Line Limited. H. Information Communication Technology Authority. I. Revenue Statement from the Department of Agriculture. J. Regional Pastoral Livelihood Resilience Project. K. Kaimosi Friends University College. L. The State Department of Fisheries and the Blue Economy Revenue Statements. And lastly, Kenya University and College Central Placement Board. And finally, N. Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The annual report, the annual public debt management report for the financial year 2017-2018 is referred to the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, October 16, 2018, report of the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security on the consideration of the County Government Amendment Number 2 Bill, Senate Bill Number 7 of 2017. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Question by the member for Rabai constituency. Honourable members, I want to encourage you to always remember carrying your cards. If you know you have a question, please, you should make your request be seen. Honourable Kamoti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My card is on, and I'm wondering if it's not reflecting. Mr. Speaker, my question goes to the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection. Could the Cabinet Secretary, A, confirm whether the Labor Institutions Act 2007 and the Statutory Instruments Act 2013 were complied with while making regulations relating to wages published by legal notice number 112 of 2017 of 16th May 2017, and B, explain why there are discrepancies on the basic salaries for employees in similar job grades but working in different locations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's my question.
Referred to the Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare to be responded to after prioritization. The question by the member for Ojero Rock. Member for Ojero Rock. Somebody by the name Muchira. Is it that members don't know how to use the machines? Or?
No, Mr. Speaker, thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs, and it goes like this. What programs and plans are being put in place by the Ministry, if any, to ensure youth access employment? And B, what measures are in place to ensure succession planning in all government ministries and agencies? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Referred to the same committee for prioritization. The next question, member for Loima constituency.
Honorable Speaker, my question goes to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. What measures are being undertaken by the Ministry to ensure a lasting security and peaceful coexistence among the communities in Turkana, West Pokot, Baringo, and Samburu? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Referred to the Committee on Administration and National Security to prioritize, and I'm happy to report that I am now aware that several committees have actually sat and prioritized responses by the various cabinet secretaries. So national security, please also do the same. I know you have several other questions coming up next week. The next question by the member for Ikolomani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I direct my question to Cabinet Secretary for Education. What criteria is used by the Ministry to allocate and distribute development infrastructure development funds in secondary schools, colleges, and universities in the country.
Referring to the Departmental Committee on Energy to prioritize. Energy Committee, please prioritize this. Don't visit the place where there was reported to have been fire. You don't have expertise to investigate a fire. Ask the organization to bring you the report showing what was the cause of the fire. Because even if you go as politicians with your naked eyes, you are unlikely to bring anything worth a discussion in the House. So I'm sure you can deal with this question.
The activities of explain the activities being undertaken by the Acacia Mining Company in the Kolomani constituency, and in particular, the company's role in environmental degradation. And B, what benefits, if any, are the residents of the Kolomani constituency gaining from the said company?
Yeah, that goes to energy. Member for Loima again.
Honorable Speaker, my question goes to the Cabinet Secretary for Agriculture and Livestock. My first question, what is the role of the government in supporting palm tree farming in Turkana County? Number B, what initiatives have been put in place to ensure Tackle irrigation scheme fully supports palm tree farming in Turkana County? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I think when you file a question styled this way, and if you look at the fourth schedule to the Constitution, I think you need to specify which level of government. The distribution of functions under the fourth schedule, you may notice that there may be some functions that are devolved within agriculture. But I suppose, therefore, here you meant the national government. Honorable Lomurukai, very well. Agriculture Committee to point of order. There?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There was a question by the member for Ikolomani on the issue, on the Acacia Mining Company mining in Ikolomani, which you directed to the Committee on Energy. I wanted to request you that, the Ministry of Petroleum is responsible to two committees, both our Committee on Energy and also the Committee on Environment. On issues of mining, it is done by the Environment Committee, while on issues of petroleum, it is done by the Energy Committee. So I request that you redirect the question to the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources.
Very good correction. I think the staff are also accordingly advised. That question by the Honorable Shinali on mining is appropriately redirected to the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. The one by the member for Loima is directed to the Committee on Agriculture and Livestock. The member for Loima, you have yet another question.
Yes.
Proceed. I think you should just have asked all of them, then there's nothing out of order.
Thank you.
You may be actually the one on the threat of being out of order. Yes, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my last question goes to the Cabinet Secretary for Education. What is the implementation status of 1A, Section 28(1) of the Basic Education Act that gives every child the right to free and compulsory basic education among pastoralist communities, with a specific reference to Loima constituency? and B, Section 2A and Section 2B on the number of mobile schools and on the appropriate boarding.
And I'm hoping that these questions are not coming like this because they may have been deferred. Because again, this is not the intention of this session. One member asking 3 questions is an unfair allocation of time. 2 questions, 3 questions, then the intention, we wanted to hear questions from all of, but anyway, I'm not sure. I don't know how many questions have been filed. It may well be that the ones who are relaxing have not filed any questions. Proceed, Honorable Shinali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think my questions have been there for some time. I direct my question to the Cabinet Secretary, Labor and Social Services. I would like to know why the ministry has taken long without gazetting regulations on human trafficking.
Referring to the Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. The next question, the member for Nakuru Town East is absent. Again, is on official. I'm aware he's away on official. But again, the staff, the records must be clear. The Honorable Kikaria is a member for Nakuru Town East, not Nakuru West. Nakuru Town East. It means the people in room 8 are not paying attention to some of these details. So the question is deferred until such time as the member will be back in the country. Honourable members, I hope that voting on a division in the House shall be by electronic voting. Close the quotes. I therefore wish to remind all those desiring to vote on the bill tomorrow to carry their cards with them to facilitate this process. The chair will look with disfavor any member claiming to have misplaced and or forgotten their cards. This is for general information of members. And before the question is put, we will have to ascertain the numbers. Because as you all know, all our members, where the Constitution requires a 2/3 threshold or any threshold specific, it is not possible for the Speaker to determine the number of those who vote one way or the other by voice votes. Some former politician, and we wish that Almighty rest his soul in eternal peace, once referred it as Kura ya Makelele. So tomorrow there will be no such Kura ya Makelele. It will be by electronic voting. You may be singing if you desire to, but in low levels. But we will have to get the numbers. Those of you who have problems, like I can see the member for Lunga Lunga wanting to draw the attention of the chair to something that machines. Certainly not the Honorable Sankok. He cannot register that disability, Honorable Mwashetani.
to provide for the process to be followed by county governments in the exercise of their power under Articles 209 and 210 of the Constitution to impose, vary, or waiver taxes, fees, levies, and other charges, and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 9, the Sports Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 25 of 2018, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Sports Act 2013.
Next order.
Order number 10, motion, report on the annual World Bank Conference on Land and Poverty.
Member for Lunga Lunga, Vice Chair, Lands Committee. I'm informed that you are the leader of the delegation, and that, but do you have a card? Are you one of the few who are not recognizable by machines? Misplaced. So you are not voting. Tomorrow you will not be able, you will not vote. But for now we allow you to move the reports.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to move the motion of a report on the annual World Bank Conference that was held in the U.S., that this House notes the report of Departmental Committee on Lands Delegation to the 2018 annual World Bank Conference on Land and Poverty, held in Washington, D.C., United States of America, on date 19th, 23rd of March 2018, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 7th, 2018. Mr. Speaker, the World Conference on Land and Poverty is an annual event organized by the World Bank, World Bank Development Economic Research Group, and the conference normally attracts several countries and almost 128 countries in the world. This August House was represented by 4 members from the Departmental Committee of Land, of which I was the leader of the delegation, myself, who is the Vice Chair of the Lands Committee, Honorable Caleb Kositani, MP, Honorable Catherine Waruguru, MP, and Honorable Teddy Mwambire. Honorable Speaker, the committee wishes to register its appreciation to the officers of the Speaker and the Clerk of the National Assembly for the support accorded to the committee while undertaking this important activity. Honorable Speaker, the conference was conducted in different ways, through session roundtable comprising selected papers, debates on important innovation and policy issues. Honorable Speaker, there were several speakers. Some of them were researchers, and we had one of the researchers from Kenya also, one Professor Siwazuri, who did a presentation, and they were touching on different land issues, which most of them were related to, somehow related to the ones which we face in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, amongst the issues which were captured, land administration system that rarely improved tenure security for poor. Honorable Speaker, this is an issue that we know as Kenyans there is a room for improvement. Honorable Speaker, the ability to control and manage land use and how to dispose of its product and engage in transaction. Mr. Speaker, participants deliberated upon the benefits and challenges of large-scale agriculture investments. There were several general values of the land management. Amongst them, some of them were economic benefits such as increase of income, improved economic growth, and export of earning, and additional food crop for local consumption, and new sources of government and community revenue from land leases. Honorable Speaker, we further noted that
the risks associated with commercial land investment are not limited to those endured by affected communities, but there was mounted evidence across Africa demonstrating that land acquisition and tenure related to risk can threaten viability of commercial land investment for investors. Mr. Speakers, we shared so many practices that have mostly been influenced by globalization, and amongst the areas that we captured, and we know for sure that if we do implement in Kenya, we are going to ease in the management of land. Honorable Speaker, technology, which encompasses the digitization of the land management, these are helping to document rights to family and community land held by traditional disfranchised people such as forest communities, slums dwellers, pastoralists, by enable participatory mapping and local negotiation over rights, including witch investors. Honorable Speaker, amongst the areas that we captured also was participatory processes, supply chain monitoring, administrative data, and data revolution. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, the conference was a forum for participants to discuss findings from new research, examine ways to integrate these findings into policies and country strategies. We learned from one another at times when land rights for the poor are increasingly at risk on a global scale. We showcase what other countries are doing, as well as to learn from them. This included best practices in land registration system, land management system, and processing time for establishing land and ownership. Honorable Speaker, while we were in the Washington, there are so many areas that were touched. And talking about land issue, Honorable Speaker, it is high time that we digitize our system of management, because this is a problem that cross-cuts so many countries in Africa and beyond Africa. And I believe with proper policies that we formulate, the ease of accessing land on transfer, land on acquisition will be achieved through policy making. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. And Teddy Mwambire, I move and I ask my colleague Teddy Mwambire to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Teddy?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to second the motion.
Is that the member for Ganze?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, we got an opportunity to ventilate on a number of issues, but particularly on, as shared by the mover. Mr. Speaker, among the issues that we shared,